Welcome all to day 7 of Navratri Satsang, and the topic is learning from women in Ramayana. Today is day 7 and the Tithi is Ashtami. So, Durgashtami is being worshipped or celebrated today, and some people are also celebrating Saraswati Puja also today. And the form of goddess Durga that is being worshipped today is Mahagauri Devi, and the color of the day is blue, which represents divine energy. And yesterday we saw the form of Goddess Durga that was celebrated was Kalaratri Devi, and in contrast, today is Mahagauri Devi. So they are said to represent the two extremes of Mother Nature. One is Kalaratri Devi, who is like terrifying and devastating, and on the other extreme is Mahagauri Devi, who's like most beautiful and serene form of Mother Divine. So Mahagauri Devi represents beauty and wisdom. So let us all offer our prayers to Mahagauri Devi and start the chant of 32 names of Durga. We'll be chanting this 3 times with the sankalpa of overcoming distresses and to experience peace and harmony. Let's begin the chant. Durga, Durga, Tishamani, Durga, Padminivarini, Durga Machedini, Durga Sadhini, Durga Nashini, Durga Dodharini, Durga Nihanti, Durga Mabaha, Durga Magnanada, Durga Daikya Lokadamanana, Durga Ma, Durga Maloka, Durga Matma Swarupini, Durga Marga Prada, Durga Mavidya, Durga Mashrita, Durga Magnana Samsthana, Durga Madhyana Bhasini, Durga Moha, Durga Maga, Durga Marga Swarupini, Durga Masura Samhantri, Durga Mayuda Dharini, Durga Mangi, Durga Mata, Durga Mya, Durga Meshwari, Durga Bhima, Durga Bhama, Durga Bha, Durga Dharini, Om Durga, Durga Shishamani, Durga Padminivarini, Durga Machedini, Durga Sadhini, Durga Nashini, Durga Dodharini, Durga Nihantri, Durga Mapaha, Durga Magnanada, Durga Daikya Lokadamanala, Durga Ma, Durga Maloka, Durga Matmaswarupini, Durga Durga Marga Pradha, Durga Mavidya, Durga Mashrita, Durga Magnana Samsthana, Durga Madhyana Bhasini, Durga Moha, Durga Maga, Durga Martha Swarupini, Durga Masura Samhantri, Durga Mayuda Dharini, Durga Mogi, Durga Mata, Durga Mya, Durga Meshwari, Durga Bhima, Durga Bhama, Durga Bha, Durga Dharini, Om Durga, Durga Tishamani, Durga Padminivarini, Durga Machedini, Durga Sadhini, Durga Nashini, Durga Dodharini, Durga Nihantri, Durga Mapaha, Durga Magnanada, Durga Daitya Lokadamanada, Durga Ma, Durga Maloka, Durga Matma Swarupini, Durga Marga Prada, Durga Mavidya, Durga Mashrita, Durga Magnana Samsthana, Durga Madhyana Bhasini, Durga Moha, Durga Maga, Durga Martha Swarupini, Durga Masura Samhantri, Durga Mayuda Dharini, Durga Mangi, Durga Mata, Durga Mya, Durga Meshwari, Durga Bhima, Durga Bhama, Durga Bha, Durga Dharini. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hare Om. With this, I would like to hand it over to Anzulka. I will stop sharing my screen and give the permission.
Namaskar everybody. Are you able to see the screen and can you hear me?
Akka.
Then we'll start. यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुग्म व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताय पतये नमः. So, welcome everybody to this Navratri Satsang. Today we are on our day 7, and the person we have to look at today is a very exalted soul, somebody who holds a lot of significance for us because we are also on the spiritual path, and that is Shabari. So we've all heard of the story of Shabari. There is interestingly a backstory to her also. She was a Bhil woman called as a Bhilni. Okay, that is a particular tribe of people. And what happened was she was from a young age she was very much drawn to dharma and to following spiritual activities and all that. Now her marriage was fixed, and she saw that there were so many animals that had been brought there. They were tribal people, isn't it? And she asked her mother, what is this? Why are all these animals tied up here? So her mother said, tomorrow morning they will cut all these animals, they will slaughter the animals, and that meat will be served to all the guests who come for the wedding and all that. She was so horrified at that thought that before her marriage, the animals are going to be killed. She ran away from that place, and she ran into the forest and just kept running and running until she felt that she had reached a place where, she was safe. So it is said that actually her place where she lived, this Bhilni lived, was somewhere near Madhya Pradesh. But then she was found by Lord Rama near the Pampa river, and that is, if you say Kishkinda, then it is somewhere almost Karnataka. So then that means how far she has traveled, you can imagine, right? She stayed in the forest, and secretly she used to do seva to the rishis who were doing their tapascharya in that forest. Now all the other people, they were very what you say, angry with her because they thought that she's a low caste woman and not to be brought close to them or anything. There was only one rishi called Matanga Muni, and he was the one. He saw that this child, this girl has so much of devotion for God, so much seva bhav she has. So he is the one who accepted her, and he said, you come stay in my ashram. In fact, for that it is told that the other rishis all kind of ostracized this Matanga Muni. But he said, I am not bothered about that. He taught her to do Ram Nam Japa. And when his time to leave this mortal body had come, he called her and he said, I'm going now, and you have to be here. She said, please, Gurudev, you take me also. What will I do here alone in this ashram without you? He said, no, I don't have that bhagya, but you are blessed. You will get to see Lord Rama. He will come here to this ashram, and you have to stay here and you have to serve him and, give him hospitality, and after that only you can come and join me wherever I am going. So she continued to stay there. Now her guru had not told her when Rama will come, but doing Ram, 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 she was constantly chanting Lord's name. Early morning she would wake up, she would clean the ashram, she would have her bath, do all her puja, everything, keep chanting Lord's name. She would go to the banks of the Pampa river where there were all the wonderful, sweet fruit bearing trees. She would pick up so many fruits and come, and she would keep it waiting that, okay, today Rama is going to come. And that continued. So every day after day after day, she just kept waiting with no idea of when he will come. Why she waited? Because her guru had told her he is going to come. Okay. She waited with so much of patience. Finally, we know one fine day, after Sita has been lost, then Rama and Lakshmana come there, and they come asking for Shabari. And when Lord Rama comes there, in the Valmiki Ramayana it is described, he asks her a lot of questions. Kachitte nirjita vigna, kachitte vardate tapah. How are you? Is your tapa going on? How is your sadhana going on? Are there any vignas for you? Are there any obstacles? Are you able to, control your anger? Have you, do you have a regulated kind of eating habits? Are you able to experience mental peace and joy? Have you been doing the service of the Guru? Do you think that you have succeeded in your service of the Guru? Like this, all this he says, and he addresses her as Charu Bhashini. Charu Bhashini means someone who is having a very sweet speech. Now here it is important for us to remember this. She was an old tribal lady. By then she had grown so old. It is said in some places that she waited 10,000 years for Rama to come. Whatever it is, she was very old. And definitely being a tribal woman, she can't have had some very fancy way of speaking or a sweet voice or anything like that. Then why is Lord Rama referring to her as Charu Bhashini or a melodious voiced one? Because it is the tapas that she has done that has given so much value to her speech. So that is why he is referring to her as Charu Bhashini. So he asks all these questions. And suppose now all of us are also doing some kind of spiritual practice. If somebody comes and asks us about, what are we doing? How is your sadhana going? And we'll say, yeah, somehow something is happening and all that. But you know what Shabari said? She said, I was not doing anything all these days. It is now when I saw you, after seeing you, my tapas has reached its siddhi. Now my tapas has fructified. And this has happened because of your samyak darshan. So what she's trying to imply by saying Samyak Darshan, she's trying to say that I know your reality. To the rest of the world, you say you are Rama, you are son of Dasharatha, you are wife of your husband of Sita, and you are, Ayodhya prince and all that. But I know your reality because why? Because my guru has blessed me with the divine vision to understand your reality. And you cannot fool me like you're fooling the other people. This is what she's trying to imply by saying this. So we can see, isn't it? Really, she is Charu Bhashini. So there is a shloka in the Shvetashvataro Upanishad which says that Yasya Deve Para Bhakti Yatha Deve Tata Gurau Tasyaite Katita Hi Arthaha Prakashante Mahatmanaha. For the noble soul who is totally devoted to God, who has a lot of devotion to God, and who is equally devoted to his Guru, such noble souls, they are able to understand all the truths. The truth will manifest itself in front of them. So how did she get this Divya Drishti to see the reality, to know the truth that Lord Rama is Bhagavan himself? Because of her devotion in God, and she kept chanting Ramanama. She had so much devotion in God. And she had devotion totally in Matanga Muni, in her Guru. So that is the reason why she was able to see him with reality. Then Lord Rama asks, as soon as they come, she makes them sit actually, and she will massage their feet very lovingly and say, you have walked so much, you are in so much, you must be tired. She massages their feet, then she gives them water to drink, all that she does. Then she shows them around the ashram. She keeps telling, my guru was like this, my guru was like that. The other sages who were living there in that ashram previously, she tells about them all. She says, this is the place where they should take bath, that river is there. So she takes them around the place. And finally, we know this famous episode where she offers fruits to Lord Rama. And Lord Rama very happily takes it. In some places, it is also said that she wanted to know that the fruits were tasty enough for Lord. So she bit into them, and whatever she had bitten and confirmed that it is sweet, she gave that. And without thinking that, her saliva is on it, without thinking of it as being, contaminated with her saliva, Lord Rama happily started eating it. Now we don't know. There are different different commentators write differently about it. Whether she tasted or she had only picked up the sweet fruits, we don't know. But whatever it is, the fact that Lord Rama accepted Shabari's fruits. Now, the same thing when he had come into the forest, when they had just left from, Ayodhya and come, and they came into contact with Guha, the boatman, right? And that Nishadraj. So there also Guha had brought food. He had actually, it is said, he had brought fish and honey cooked in a very delicious way, and he offered it to Lord Rama. Now, Lord Rama refused to, he didn't say no, but he said, okay, you consider that I have eaten this food. And he didn't actually consume that food. Okay, saying that because I'm now in Vanvas, it is a vrata time for me, I'm not supposed to eat anything, and so on. But when Shabari offered, he ate that very happily. He didn't tell anything to Shabari about not accepting and all that, right? What is the reason for this? It is said, the Acharyas say that because whatever Shabari did, it was in keeping with the Agnya of her Guru. It was in keeping with the instructions given by her Guru. She was not doing something by her own will. Whereas Guha had not done any previous sadhana under a Guru's guidance. So that is why there he said differently. Also, when Guha approached Lord Rama with the food, he was sitting in the company of all the rishis who are not going to eat that kind of food. So then those were the reasons why he did not accept. But when Shabari offered the fruits, she was doing it as per her Guru Agnya, and that is the reason why Lord Rama accepted. So here again we get to see that the having the grace of a guru, having the words of a guru which are guiding us are very important for God also to accept us. Right? Then there is another story which is told. Now this does not appear in the Valmiki Ramayana. I heard it in some Sant Katha which they were telling about Shabari. So they say that when Lord Rama came there, Shabari was she was all anxious and she was all excited and agitated, like she wanted to do everything fast. So she wanted to get water from the river to wash their feet. So she ran with her pot to the water, and when she ran to the river like that, that dust which flew from her body, it went and fell on one rishi who was just having bath and coming out of that river. So he was very angry with her. He said, "Shoo, you low caste woman, why did you come in my path? Now see, you have dirtied me and I have to take bath again." So this, anyway, she didn't know what to do about it. She just picked up water in her pot and she came running back to the ashram. Fine. Now that Rishi went into the water and he took bath to cleanse himself. But the minute he stepped into that water became all, you could see worms floating around in that water. That is a Pampa river, which is so precious. So all worms floating around. And in some places it is said even there was red color like blood there, And he was shocked, like, what is this happening? Then all the rishis saw this and they came to Shabari's ashram and they told Lord Rama that, see, this is what has happened. This woman, she made me impure, and then because of that, when I took bath in the water, that all the water has got purified. Now Lord Rama, you have to do something. You are Bhagavan, you have to do something to remove this pollution of the river. So Lord Rama said, no, but you people have done so much yagnya, yaga and all that. You are very powerful mantras you are having with you. Why don't you do something to, you must be very powerful. I'm sure you can do something to relieve that, remove that problem. But they said, no, it's not working. But you are definitely, you are God. You come and do. So Rama went and stepped into the water, but nothing happened. Right? Then Rama said, what happened? Why did this water become like this? So they explained that what happened with Shabari and all. So then he told them, bring Shabari here, he said. She was refusing to come, like, and they were trying to get her to come. And then, all that hurry, that dust which was sticking to the feet of Shabari went and fell into that water. And at that very moment, all the water became clear again. It became pure at once. So Rama told these people, see, you are thinking that you are a highborn person. You think you are Brahman, you are Rishi, and that you are calling her a low caste woman. But she is such a great bhakta, and you don't even need her feet. See, I myself stepped into the water, but nothing happened. But the dust of the feet of this bhakti, that is what made pure. So what we learn from this, that no doubt Rama and Rama's name is powerful. Lord Rama's Naam is more powerful than Rama's form itself. Isn't it? They say Rama se bada Ram ka naam. But if that Naam is chanted by somebody with a lot of devotion, then that person becomes much more powerful than the Lord himself. So much power is there in chanting Lord's name. So after doing all this, after serving Lord Rama the fruits and all that, finally she sits in front of him and she says, okay, Rama, now it is time for me to go. I'm going to join my guru wherever he is, she says. So Rama says, yes, fine, you may continue. And he keeps quiet. Now, this is contrasted to the situation where when Jatayu was about to die, then at that point of time, Rama tells Jatayu that you go now to moksha. You go on further to the further lokas for moksha, right? I think somebody has unmuted. Can you please mute? So, why did Rama tell Jatayu, I give you permission, you go to moksha? But he didn't do that for Shabari because Jatayu was he had lost his life. He was about to lose his life. And for Jatayu, the Lord revealed his actual nature and he said, you go to moksha. For Shabari, she already had been told by her guru that once Lord Rama comes and you serve him, then you are free to come and join me at any time. So Guru has already granted her moksha. She is only waiting for Rama to come. So there is no question of Rama giving her moksha. So here again we understand that it is the Guru who has so much importance in ensuring the spiritual, success of the disciple, of the Shishya. Lord himself listens to whatever the Guru, whatever the Acharya tells. And that is the reason why it is very important that we must follow whatever guidance is given by the Guru. Now, what can we learn from the story of Shabari? There are so many things. In fact, as we keep talking about Shabari, we can probably talk for 9 days about Shabari alone, right? But there are some very important things that we can learn from her story. First thing is, if we want to make spiritual progress, we have to blindly obey whatever our Guru is telling us, without using our intellect in the middle, without trying to justify and find reasons or find logic in it. We have to just blindly obey whatever the Guru tells. Now, for many of us, we may have the question that we don't have a Guru. So what should we do? Should we go searching for a Guru? To find somebody and to judge whether they are right or not, we need to be bigger than them, which we are not, obviously. So until we find a Guru, if we have a Guru, fine, we should follow what they are telling us. If we don't have a Guru, then we have to just keep doing intense spiritual practice, praying constantly that, oh God, you please bless me with a Guru who will guide me on the right path. So once we have the Guru, we must follow them to attain spiritual progress. Whatever seva we do, we should do with a seva bhav, with humility, even secretly if required. We should not try to highlight what we are doing. We should not want that others should appreciate us for what we are doing. We should not want to, be given a lot of importance because we are doing seva. We should do it quietly with humility. It is said that this Shabari, because all those other rishis and all, no, they didn't like her. So in the night, when everybody had gone to sleep, she would go and from outside the ashram, she would clean that road, that path which they were taking to go to the river to have their bath and all. She would clean that space so that the thorns and all should not poke their leg. They never knew who was doing it, but she used to do it and she never boasted about it. So that bhav of wanting to do seva should be there in us. Then we must have a lot of patience and we must be willing to wait for whatever goal has been promised to us, isn't it? So Matanga Muni just told her, Rama will come. He didn't tell her when Rama will come, but how patiently she was waiting, and day after day after day, even as she grew older and older, she was waiting with the same enthusiasm. So this kind of an enthusiastic waiting is very important on the spiritual path. Then, as we already saw from the exam, that little story of which I told about the water being polluted and purification, we understand that having spiritual bhav, having bhakti, and doing seva are far, far more important for our spiritual progress. If you say that just because I have a lot of jnana and knowledge, I will progress, it will not happen. If I say I am born in a high caste and because of that I will go ahead, it will not happen. What you do, the actions you perform, the karma you perform, that plays a very important role in purifying the sadhaka. And not only, and when you become purified in your sadhana, then you are going to please God. He is not looking at seeing whether you are this varna, that varna, what is your varna. He is not going to see how much jnana you have, how much knowledge you have mastered, but what is your bhakti, what is your bhav, how much seva you are doing, with which spirit are you doing that. That is what God is going to see. Then already, as I said, Ram se bada Ram ka naam. And more importantly, if there is a Shuddha Bhakta, there is a pure devotee who is chanting the name of God, then that is very, very, very powerful. And just like Shabari, she wanted to give the best that she could give to God, right? If you take the version that she bit into those fruits, then even then, she was not bothered about whether it is my Ushta, my this thing, and Yenjilu and all that. And she just wanted to give to God because she wanted to make sure it was sweet enough for him. So same way, when we are giving something to God, we should try to offer the best things possible. I have heard sometimes some people say, like things like, okay, if the fruits are a little spoiled or something, it's okay, we will offer it in the temple. Or there are people I've heard who go and the currency notes which are torn a little bit, they will go and put it in the temple hundi. So God is not to be fooled by doing such things. He is not to be cheated by doing such things. What is the best that we have, we should offer that to God. Why just God? Even to other people, when we are doing dan, generally our attitude is we see what we want, what is important, what we like, we will keep that for ourselves, and what we don't want or what is not so good, we will give to other people. But if we do with that spirit, then it is not dan in the real sense. When you are doing dan, the idea is you have to get that sense of tyag, that sacrificing feeling should be there in you. So something that you like, something that is very good, that only you have to give to other people and of course to God also. So these are some of the things we can learn from the story of Shabari. Now it is said in the Tulsi Ramcharitmanas, this appears that when Lord Rama is talking to Shabari about her, sadhana and all that, he asks her, what sadhana you are doing and all that. She says, what sadhana, beta? I don't know anything. I have only thing I've been doing is I've been saying Ram, Ram, Ram because my guru told me. So at that point of time, Lord Rama tells what are the 9 steps people need to take to develop bhakti, and this is called as the Navavidha Bhakti. There is something else called as Navavidha Bhakti which is specified in the Bhagavatam, that Shravanam, Kirtanam, Dhyanam, Padanam, Marchanam, all Padasevanam, Marchanam, that is different. Here Lord Rama has very specifically told 9 steps that we can take to make us develop bhakti. So, Pratama Bhagati Santahakara Sangha. Keep the company of saints. Be in satsang where there is talk about God and His Leelas. Dusari Rati worldly thoughts will not come to your head. Guru Pada Pankaja Seva Tisri Bhagati Amana. So serve the lotus feet of Guru without any pride, amana, without a sense of pride. That is what you have to do. The fourth thing, Chauti Bhagati Mama Gunagana Karayi Kapata Tajigana. Sing my praises, sing my virtues with a clear heart, without kapat, without a deceitful attitude, right? And earnestly, with a lot of sincerity, you do this. Fifth, mantra japa mana mama dridha vishwasa panchama bhajana so veda prakasha. So as the Vedas have made clear, as the Vedas have said, chant my name, mantra japa mama, chant my name with vishwas, with a lot of faith, just as what the Vedas have prescribed. So this is the fifth thing that we have to do. Chata dama sila birati bahu karma, nirata nirantara sajjana dharma. Practice self-control, good character, get detached from all your other unwanted activities and follow whatever is the dharma of a sajjana, follow the duties of a good person. Then the seventh point, Satava sama mohi maya jagadekha, mote santa adhika kari lekha. See the whole world as me. Mohi maya jagadekha. So wherever you look at it as if I am in it. See me in the whole world. And Mote Santa Adhika Kari Lekhas. Consider the saints as being even greater than me. That's what we said already, isn't it? That the Guru has a sthana which is much higher than God Himself, because He is the one who will lead you further. That is what is being told in the 7th step. Then point number 8, he says, Athava Jatha Labha Santosha. Sapanehu nahi dekhai paradosha. The 8th thing is Jatha Labh. Whatever you have, be contented with that. Whatever you have, be peaceful and contented with that. Even in your dream, don't see paradosha, the dosha in other people, the faults of other people. Even in your dreams, you don't see. So if we are not going to see in the dream, that means what? In our waking state also, we should obviously not see. Only when you have practiced not finding fault during your waking stage, then in your dream also you will not see. Navama sarala sabasana chalahina. Mama bharosa hiya harashanadina. Have full faith in me. Be saral, be simple. Stay equanimous. Treat sukha, dukkha, everything equally. Don't get upset if there are any depressing things in your life. And mama bharose. stay with full faith in me that I will take care of whatever has to be done. I have all these things. So these are the 9 steps that Lord Rama advised. And he told Shabari, you have done all these 9, and that is why you are such an exalted soul. So these are the things we can learn from Shabari. And there is lots for us on the spiritual path to learn from her character. So we have about 6 minutes left now. So I will stop here. Thank you all for listening so peacefully. And if anybody has any questions or anything to add or say, you can unmute and talk now.
ಗುಡ್ ಈವ್ನಿಂಗ್ ಮೇಡಮ್. ಅನುಶ್ರೀ ಮೇಡಮ್.
ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್, ಹೇಳಿ.
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ, ಸೀತಾ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ?
ಸೀತಾ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ ಸರ್.
ಅದೇ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಡೇ
ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೇಟ್, ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಐ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಲೇಟ್. Till 5:15 I had a class. Anyway, I am seeing all your this thing, madam, recordings. Very nice, madam. We are enlightening, actually.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sita, we will take up on the last day. She is the culmination of our 9-day journey.
Yeah. That's why I'm waiting for that, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Anybody else has anything to say?
Ma'am, though you talk only for about 10-15 minutes, say there are a lot of things that we'll have to contemplate upon. As a matter of fact, after I listen to what you say, at some point of time, whenever time permits, I'll just replay the same thing on YouTube, because it gives me a different whole lot of different perspective, and I just listen to it again and again. So it's just that, even one thing that you say, some 7-8 points you might have deciphered, but it's just that each point, say again and again, say at least 2 or 3 times I must have heard to each and every talk of yours. It's just that, say there are a lot of things to contemplate upon. Thanks so much, ma'am. So maybe just that when we read once, and maybe we'll be able to assimilate only 5 to 10% of it. But when you just, talk, I think the understanding will be so much more better. And repeated listening.
It's also your quality, Ranjini, that you have that kind of an interest in it, isn't it? So what happens is that also contributes. Many people hear, everybody will hear, but everybody will get different things out of it. So if you have that kind of what you see, talamada, to really make sense of it, or to want to understand it and want to do something with it, then God will bless you with those kind of insights.
Thanks so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for the wonderful sessions that you've been conducting, ma'am. And even the temperament with which you say, that also has a lot of bearing on the talk. It's just that when you speak only, we will know the intention. It's just that, say, it's not just a talk, the way in which you actually outline everything, that shows your intent. The tempo with what you speak, that tells a lot about your intent. So when the intent of the speaker is good, obviously the assimilation from the listeners' point of view will be so much more better. So feel like listening to your talk again and again, ma'am. Thanks so much, ma'am. Hari Om.
Thank you, Maranji. It is all Guru's grace that we are blessed to be able to do this together.
Same here, ma'am. Same here, ma'am. That we have also got a teacher like you. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything? Okay, Usha, if there is nothing else, we can close.
Okay.
Zarna ji, thank you so much for your kind words, for saying thank you. Alka also, thank you everybody. I'm so happy that you're all joining in regularly. Thank you. Okay, I will stop screen sharing.
Thank you, Akka. Shabri is like one of my favorite characters from Ramayana. Shabri's story itself is like so powerful, and whenever we listen or see the story or read the story, the whole interaction itself, instigates that bhava. So I think Shabri was so powerful that even if we read or listen only, it instigates that bhava. So It was very nice session, Akka, and Navavidya Bhakti and all you explained very nicely. Thank you so much for that. And what Ranjini said is also true. I mean, that repeated listening, it helps us assimilate more. Even I have that habit of, going back to YouTube and listening to it. And night I just play for my daughter also before she goes to bed. She asks for a story. So I have this from this satsang every day. I'm just playing that for her. She's also listening to it. So we enjoyed the session again at the night time.
Yeah, good. Happy to hear that.
Coming to Kritanyanga, let us offer our gratitude at the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and join this satsang and pray for the blessings and grace to be upon us always. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending the satsang. Thank you, Akka. Shri Krishna.
Thank you, everybody. Namaste, and we will catch up again tomorrow, same time.